Welcome back to Crawford-Clark Close-Up. For our final review of 2019, we're ranking all 9 films in the Skywalker saga, as said saga has just reached its conclusion with the newly released Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars is a saga over 40 years in the making and has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly among its many installments over the years. Whether you're a purist to the original trilogy, a fan of the prequels, or the newest trilogy is your favourite, we're taking our subjective look at all 9 of the films. We're not including the spin-offs The Clone Wars, Rogue One, or Solo: A Star Wars Story in this ranking, however, just the numbered episodes. Be sure to let us know your ranking in the comments and let us know your thoughts on the franchise in the comments below. We'll be sure not to be too spoilerific in this video for the newest instalment or any of the previous 8 if you're still catching up with the sci-fi series, and we encourage you to refrain from spoiling the series for others in your comments. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel at the top of the page if you enjoy this video to ensure you don't miss out on any new content as soon as we upload. Come and find Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can also drop us an email to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com with suggestions for things we can review in the new year. With the housekeeping out of the way, let's get started. There's probably little surprise that Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the first of George Lucas's divided prequels, finds its way to the bottom of our ranking. Fans flocked to cinemas in 1999 to see the start of the saga proper with high expectations, only to find mediocre visual effects, poor story, and poor Liam Neeson trying to deliver the nonsense dialogue with as much conviction as possible. Plus, you've got Jake Lloyd as contender for one of the most irritating child actors of all time in the pivotal role of young Anakin, and Jar Jar Binks bringing down any credibility that was left. The film's one saving grace over a badly paced 2.25 hours is the Darth Maul saber fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. Taking the 8th spot on our list is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. You can get away with being wooden as a child actor, Jake Lloyd, but Hayden Christensen as adult Anakin is so one-note. In fact, all the actors seem to struggle here, in no greater aspect of the filmmaking than with Lucas's banal dialogue. What puts this marginally above its predecessor is when you push some of the corny dialogue to one side, fans are treated to some vastly improved visual effects, and the set design is also more intricate second time around, with the story slowly but surely building to Anakin's downfall. With our number 7, we may ultimately lose some viewers, as this is where we place Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. After the impressive work on the first 2 chapters of the original trilogy, we get a long, tedious preamble to this chapter of the saga with Leia and Han and Luke trapped in Jabba the Hutt's palace, which does little to excite or enthrall for the remainder of the film. The film stock also, strangely, seems grainy this time, more so than on Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. The Ewoks are also a bizarre addition to the story. In our opinion, this is the weakest of the original trilogy of films by some margin that overdoes the sentimentality. Just outside our top 5 at number 6 is the much maligned Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Yes, there are some bizarre moments and 1 or 2 dodgy CGI effects, as well as some questionable character motivations, yet this is on the whole an explosive, highly entertaining episode in the saga that subverts expectations, all the while managing to generate an engaging penultimate adventure. The film is largely well paced. It's great to have Mark Hamill return to the franchise and Luke given some meat, and the cameo from Yoda was a welcome treat. The film is right up there with Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith for having one of the best finales of any single episode in the saga, and despite this being the longest film in the saga, it actually zips along with engaging action, genuine emotional conflict, and for the most part, great characterization. We kick off the top 5 with a film that has grown in our estimation as we've rewatched the saga in preparation for its conclusion. J.J. Abrams' Episode 7, The Force Awakens, brought Star Wars back to please the purists and usher in a new, younger generation, with John Boyega, Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac bringing new bums to seats. It was a joy to see Han and Leia back again, although having Kylo Ren be their son seems a little derivative and cliched. The emotional and exciting finale to the film makes up for some of the lull moments throughout this 7th episode, but 10 years on from Episode 3 in 2005, Star Wars was back, and who are we to complain when this was the result? In 4th place is the aforementioned and clear standout of Lucas's prequels, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Hayden Christensen has grown his hair out to make him proper angsty and emo, as Anakin struggles with the temptation of the dark side, and Ian McDiarmid is the star turn here as the hugely effective Emperor Palpatine. Lucas wisely omits a lot of the meandering conversational scenes to launch straight into the action from the get-go. For all of its virtues, however, we also get the exchange between Anakin and Padme on the balcony, "You are so beautiful," representing some of the corniest and nonsensical dialogue ever written. The clear highlight of the film, which ranks it as high as it is on our list, is the superb 2nd and 3rd acts, and the eventual downfall of Anakin and, spoiler, transformation into Vader. An excellent precursor to the next film in our ranking. So the top 3 opens with the next film chronologically in the saga, and the first time we ever saw that opening crawl and heard John Williams' majestic main theme. It's Episode 4, A New Hope. Granted, there are some primitive effects work from the 1970s here, but this is a very engaging story, with Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher as 3 of the best central characters in the history of the movies. There's brilliant chemistry between the 3 leads, considering it's over an hour into the movie before they share the screen together. Alec Guinness is inspired casting as Luke's wise mentor Obi-Wan, chronologically taking over the mantle from Ewan McGregor in the prequels, which makes perfect sense, and James Earl Jones lends the perfect voice to the intimidating Vader. A New Hope is a perfectly modest way to open the saga, and succeeds on so many levels. 2 films to go, Rise of Skywalker, which has had a mixed response from fans and critics alike, and the widely loved Empire Strikes Back, but which takes our number 1 spot? In 2nd place, it's the latest, the saga capper Rise of Skywalker, and I have to be honest, I've only seen this new release once so far, but I already know it's one of my favourites. The editing is erratic, and there's so much going on throughout that you can't take your eyes off the screen for a second, but this ultimately makes for a highly entertaining finale to the 40-plus year Skywalker saga. J.J. Abrams returns to finish what he started with The Force Awakens and incorporates some of Rian Johnson's ideas from The Last Jedi to conclude this saga in a way that should ultimately satisfy both the fans who've been around from the very beginning as well as those who've been catching up along the way. Boyega, Ridley and Isaac are better than ever. Leia is incorporated very well into the story despite the logistical issue of Carrie Fisher's untimely passing back in 2016, and there's as many nods to the past as looks to the potential future of the franchise. There's plenty to enthrall audiences in this final instalment. My number 1, however, is the unbeatable Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. One of the most spectacular sci-fi movies of all time, with an extraordinary ending which continues to impress as the film nears its 40th anniversary. Luke being trained by an aging Yoda is a fantastic sequence. We get our introduction to Lando Calrissian, and it's practically wall-to-wall action and intrigue from beginning to end. Couple that with some of the best effects work in the saga, brilliant editing, and John Williams on perhaps his best musical form, and Episode 5 is breathtaking adventure, which remains my personal favourite of the saga. So, controversial perhaps, but that's our ranking of one of the greatest film series of all time. What do you think of our ranking? Let us know in the comments below and give us your ranking of all 9 films. Still to come in our final video for 2019, we present a montage of 100 of our favourite films of the last decade at the movies, as well as teasing you with some of the videos you can expect on this channel in the new year 2020. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.